In this video, we're going to take a look at how to start using Rust with IntelliJ IDEA. So for those of you who are not familiar with IntelliJ, it's basically a Java IDE. So you're probably wondering, what does a Java IDE have to do with Rust? Well, the answer is very simple. IntelliJ IDEA exists in two incarnations. There is the ultimate version, which is the commercial version that JetBrains actually sells for money. And then there is the community edition, which has, let's say, lightweight support for things like Java and other JVM languages, Kotlin, Ruby, Scala, well, Groovy rather than Ruby. It doesn't really matter. The point is we're interested in Rust, and it just so happens that IntelliJ has a plugin for the Rust programming language. So just like with Visual Studio, you can install that plugin and you can be up and running in no time at all. So if you want to install IntelliJ IDEA, you select the operating system that you're after and just press the download here for the community edition. That's free. You don't have to pay money for it. Just download it, install it, and run it. And when you run it, you will be presented with a dialog box similar to the one you're about to see. Alright, so here is the starting dialog from IntelliJ IDEA, and before you start doing anything, before you actually go ahead and you start making projects, what you need to do is you need to install the Rust plugin into IntelliJ IDEA. So if you go into Configure and you select Plugins, this is where you can install additional plugins into the IDE. And now what you're after is a JetBrains plugin, so a plugin that's made by JetBrains. So you press this button here, Install JetBrains plugin, and then here in the search box you simply type Rust. So Rust is a language that's supported in IntelliJ IDEA. There will be a green button saying install here. I've obviously got it installed already, so I don't see this button. And this is where you would press that button and you would restart the IDE so that the plugin actually, the plugin actually gets loaded and you get the appropriate project type. So here, if you want to get started with a project, you would press the create new project button. This is where you would see a dialog box asking you what kind of language you want to use. So you can see we have all sorts of things here like Java and Android and other stuff that we don't need in the context of discussing Rust, obviously. So you would select Rust as the language, and you'll notice that since I've got Rust installed and I've also got the Rust standard library installed, you get these things filled in automatically. So it's not like you have to actually go out and find these paths, because the plugin is going to try and find those paths for you. So here all you have to do is you have to specify whether you're making an application or a library, and that's pretty much it. Let's go into next. You specify your project name, like let's call this hello Rust, like so, and let's take a look at what actually gets generated. All right, let me close this hint here and let's open the project structure so that we get to actually see what it's all about. So here is the project. You can sort of expand it and you can see that there are a couple of things inside that project. So more things that you might expect. So there is cargo.toml. This basically defines all the packages that you're using and so on. There is hello rust.iml, which is actually the entire project. So the IML file kind of defines the project. Here is the first thing, by the way, that you'll see is that when you open a TOML file, it's going to say that, oh, by the way, we also have a separate plugin for supporting TOML files. So if you press the install plugins link here, you can press OK, and this will install an additional plugin. So you can see that Rust is a separate plugin, and then the support for the TOML markup is an additional plugin. You do have to restart IntelliJ IDEA for this whole thing to actually be applied, so that you actually get your TOML files highlighted properly and whatnot. So once you restart the IDE, you can see that you get some highlighting here, like these things are in orange, the text is in green, that sort of thing. And so that's TOML support. So you will also sometimes see a cargo lock file here. This is to do with the locking mechanism that's applied by cargo. We don't really care about cargo.lock. Hello rust.iml is actually just a project definition file which IntelliJ IDEA uses. So this is IntelliJ specific stuff basically, and there's lots of weirdness here, like stuff related to the JDK, for example. We don't care about any of that. What we're interested in mainly is cargo.toml, you'll see that we also got a git ignore generated, so it automatically became a git repository. Not sure I wanted that. And then under the src folder, we have main.rs, which is actually, the first file that you're going to be working with. Obviously, all of this can be customized, but this is what the setup looks like. Okay, so now what we can do is we can go ahead and run, and you'll notice that the run option here is actually grayed out, which is kind of annoying. But the reason it's grayed out is because you haven't set up a configuration to actually run. So let's go into run here. And you can see that there's an option here to just run hello Rust straight away. So if I click this, it basically creates a configuration for me. So it basically calls cargo.exe run. So it uses the cargo to actually run the whole thing. And here is the hello world output. Down below, there's also, stuff here that we are not going to worry about right now. Like, for example, I chose naming that the crate system doesn't really like. It prefers kind of lowercase with underscores kind of naming. So you're going to see all sorts of output messages here, and you're going to see the actual program output here as well. So if you go and if you want to actually edit the configurations, you simply go into edit configurations. You can see that one configuration I have is a cargo command for cargo run. So you'll notice it's not exactly running the exe directly. It's basically saying cargo run. It's specifying the package as well as the bin directory, and it's basically kind of combined process of compiling the whole thing as well as running it. You can specify additional environment variables here, and there's lots of other stuff like working directory and whether you want to show standard input and output in test, that sort of thing. So essentially, this is how you can make a configuration that you can subsequently run. And now that we have this configuration, we no longer have to go into any kind of manipulations. You can just press the little triangle here to run it, or you can go into run and then choose run from here and run it this way. So this is how you actually get started with working with Rust programs inside IntelliJ IDEA.